Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Giving the Game Away. Today, Ian and I are going to cover some exciting and recent news about Admix, our announcement with a third-party verification vendor, Integral Ad Science.
Yeah, it is huge news. It's fantastic. The industry reaction has been really nice because it is such a big deal. First things first, though, how are you, Sam? Good week?
I'm doing well, and I feel like we might want to unpack that title a bit because it's a little technical, and I guess the most people are not aware of those, of this company at all.
No, not at all. But it is really important. So unpacking it is going to be very valuable. I suppose the first place to start is what even is ad verification. I mean, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah. Well, the programmatic advertising landscape is pretty complex. There's a lot of different players that are involved in actually delivering an ad. Like when you go on a website and you see an ad, it's not, it's served from another location, and the brand can bid on that particular spot at that particular time to reach specific users. So basically, there's a lot of fraud. It's difficult to connect the two. There's a lot of middlemen that can kind of interfere in the transaction. And so over time, companies have been built to ensure that the transaction is legitimate. So verification platforms, there's several of them. Integral Ad Science is one. And what they basically do is they are able to kind of observe the transaction. So they're integrated within the ad unit. And they are able to say, kind of give a stamp of approval that, yes, this ad has been seen by a real person and it's been viewed for X amount of time. And then you aggregate all of that. If you are a publisher, you can aggregate all of that across your inventory, and you can see that your inventory is viewable or not viewable and try to understand it. And the most important is that they are trusted by brands who are buying these spaces to give them confidence that, yes, this is it's a safe transaction, right? It's like almost like a security guard that would make you confident to go into a certain place because it's safe, that you're not going to get robbed. That's pretty much what those companies are doing for the world of advertising. So yeah, that's basically those guys. And obviously they've been built for the web. They haven't been built for gaming. And the partnership marks the first time where that solution has been adapted to being able to measure with the same level of accuracy and the same level of confidence the type of transactions that are happening within the game itself.
That is big. I want to get into the long-term effects of this being the first time it's integrated into gaming in a second. You mentioned that ad fraud happens when these verification checks aren't necessarily in place. Do you want to just briefly talk about what ad fraud actually is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fraud expert, but there are many ways in which the impression of the ad isn't actually what either the publisher thinks it is or the advertiser thinks it is. For example, typical kind of base example are multiple ads that would be on top of each other. So if you're building a website, technically you could stack different ad units. And so when someone loads the website, they can be 5 ads, but only one is displayed. So the four ads that are not shown are fraud. You are asking someone to pay for something that is not actually seen. So that's like one of the most basic type of fraud. You can also spoof the domain. So you think you're advertising on a premium domain like the Times or something like that. And in fact, the domain is redirected, but you don't know it. Then you have like click farms where literally you have bots and programs that are programmed to go and click on ads, and a lot of advertisers would buy per click. And I think there are stats that show that it's like literally close to half of the budget is probably somehow fraudulent. And I personally think it's a lot more. It could be a lot more than that. And there are companies that are literally making billions of dollars just trying to be ahead of those solutions. Now, the solution we talked about, Integral Ad Science, it's not purely fraud. It's also more about measurement, which is more about how the ad has been seen, and not just, is it purely fraud? But it's kind of a spectrum, right, between pure fraud companies, measurement companies. They call themselves measurements and basically ad integrity solutions.
Nice. Okay, that's really cool. So the major, it sounds like one big issue with non-verified ads is it creates this massive distrust between the brands and the platforms that they're advertising on, which in the long term breaks down. It just breaks everything down. One of the main goals we have at Admix is to sort of act as a bridge between advertisers, developers, and players. And I'm sure that trust is a big part of that. Do you think that how much is the trust effect going to influence the future of in-play? Do you think this will be a big growth push as brands get more?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, everything that we're trying to do right now is making the brands, the advertisers, more and more confident about this new media, right? We're coming at them with a new proposition, which is to integrate ads inside games. They haven't done that before. They know very well, how it works on Google, on Facebook, on other channels, but gaming is different. And gaming is a little bit scary as well, because you have very, very different type of games. Not, a website is a website, right? You kind of know the topic of it. The games are very different. They're 3D. Some of them can be violent. The ads can be stacked in the back. Like it's just a completely different thing to navigate. And so everything that we're trying to do is to make it simple for the advertisers, so that there's nothing custom. They don't need to create specific ads. Everything that they can activate gaming the way they activate their traditional media plan. And as part of that is also giving them the confidence that just like they're confident to put money on the web or on Facebook or on Google, they should also be confident to put money in gaming, because the same companies that they already trust are also verifying this type of inventory. So it's just, it's not a silver bullet, but it's just one more kind of building block or one more check that we are putting against our name effectively. And so when a brand is looking at, what could go wrong here, 1, 2, 3, 4, well, at least this one is ticked. And we're working on others as well. And little by little, we are going to tick all of them. And that's when we'll have gaming as a scaled media channel.
Yeah. One of the sentences that really stood out to me in the PR announcement that we put out was citing this as one of the big factors that will take gaming from just a very popular leisure activity to a dominant media channel. And I'm curious about whether you think gaming will become this dominant media suddenly, suddenly every brand will want to pick it up, or if it will gradually build and build due to stuff like this, due to confidence building moves like this.
Yeah, I mean, that is the goal, right? That is why we exist, and we are building that infrastructure. We think that what makes a media channel, the potential of a media channel, it's basically its scale, how many people you can reach, and the engagement, how engaged people are, so you can actually push a message to them. We know that gaming has both, right? We have 2 billion gamers almost every day. It's going to 3 billion by 2023. And the engagement is a lot better than any other channel. The session times are longer than social media. So it has all the right ingredients. However, the spend from advertisers, as we know, is only a fraction of what is spent on, say, social media, for example. And the reason for that is the infrastructure. The infrastructure just isn't there. The brands do not know how they can actually leverage their audience. How do you reach a gamer? There's no real platform to do that. Whereas on social media, it's easy. You just go to Facebook, or you use Snap, or you use one of the other platforms. So this is where we are now, where we have the audience already. We have the engagement, and the missing piece, we believe, is the infrastructure. Obviously, Admix is that infrastructure, and this announcement with IAS, the fact that we're able now to measure viewability and to prove that these ads are actually seen, that's just one more building block of this infrastructure. Okay. So yeah, it's I think last year we've seen a massive transition in the market, where we went from why gaming, which is what brands used to ask when we started the business, like, why do we need to be in games? Some of them like games, but most of them were asking, why? What's the reason? Like, what is it? And now it's how. So the why is clear. And that's the first step, right? They're convinced that, yes, gaming is basically too big to ignore. There's too many eyeballs, too many brands have tried it. It's clear that it's where you would engage the younger audience. So the why is clear. The how is the next question. And that's an easy answer. Again, the answer for us is that's what we do. That's how you use our platform. And what brands are looking for is, simple ways to activate where they don't, which doesn't cost the earth. They don't have to recreate specific assets. They can use programmatic platforms. They can target exactly the user that they want. And also they have confidence that the ads are performing. And again, that announcement is one more step towards that.
Yeah, it's amazing. How long does this partnership take to build? Is it, I imagine it was quite a complicated thing to work out, given it's sort of an industry first in many senses.
It is. Yeah, we've been in touch with those guys for a long time, and being very early a year ago, the interest to adapt the solution just wasn't really there. The scale was too small. It wasn't clear that there was a global appeal. The conversation has changed a lot, and we've been working with their great team to basically adapt the existing solution that they have for other platforms into games as well. We've run couple of months of tests, see how the things was measured, adapt the way that things are measured to cater for the 3D environment, and then eventually decided that we were in a position to announce it. So it's been a long time in the making. This is something that we knew was going to be critical, but as most things, it's kind of just ends up building up until a moment where we are ready to go. So that was an exciting announcement, and there will be more similar announcements to come. It's just one of the building blocks that we need.
Very exciting. Okay, so two questions from a game developer's perspective then.
Yeah.
Will game developers see any practical changes from this? Will they have to do things differently? Will they see things differently in the platform? Is this all back end?
Well, yes. I mean, what they will see in the platform, hopefully, is more revenue. That's basically what this thing is, right? It's creating an extra layer of confidence so that the advertisers understand more what they're doing and are more confident about putting more money. And for some brands, the big brands, the big agencies, this is, they need that box checked. It's one of the things that needs to be there. If it's not there, there's no spend. So again, it's not going to be instant because we need to educate brands that, hey, we are verified. But once that's the case, we are going to see significant spend against it. I would go as far as saying that without this, the revenue would never scale in the way that it will. So it is a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer. It's like one of these things that you need to have in order for us to have a large business. So for the publishers, yeah, not much to do, not much that they can see, except the fact that, they are now, their game effectively becomes verified by the third party, and we're expecting a significant increase in revenue over the second half of the year.
Great, that's incredible. I mean, my second question was, why should developers and publishers care? But you sort of answered that as well.
Well, if they care about the revenue, then that should answer the question, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I was talking at a conference on Sunday, actually, at Moby Dictum, which was catering for the Turkish market. And I was talking to hyper casual publishers there. And my talk was really about how, as a publisher, you think of your game as, art or a creation or an activity or a great distraction, entertainment, whatever it may be. But we also need to start thinking of it as a media, right? And a media is basically a channel to reach users that might be relevant for brands. And I think that's a really interesting way to frame it, that most publishers probably until today do not yet think of it this way, and might even feel a bit uncomfortable because they feel that this is their game, not a channel to reach an audience. But if you think of it this way, then it means that the audience that you are building is not only valuable for you because you can monetize it with in-app purchase and so on, but it's also a goldmine for advertisers, and you get to get paid for that. So it creates that second layer of revenue because you can monetize, millions and millions of hours of gameplay that are currently not monetized while the user plays the game. And that's what the in-play infrastructure creates. It's a new revenue stream. And I think it's really important that the game publishers starts to understand that what they're building is not just a standalone game. It's part of a broader ecosystem, and that audience is extremely valuable, and they can basically get another revenue stream built on top of that. So that's why I think they should care, because that partnership is just one step further towards creating gaming as a media channel. And when you say media channel, it's not just valuable for the advertisers, it's also valuable for the publishers.
Yeah, it's big stuff. I love the fact, so with in play, there is still a big element of creativity that publishers can have with the ads, from shaders to just choosing the right placements. I like that some of the games with the most impressive placement choices have really pushed the shaders and lighting as far as they can, and that it does feel like a middle ground between like an advertising focused media channel and still a piece of art. The developers are still being creative. They're still placing ads in a way that's justified within their game worlds. It's just 100%. It feels good. It feels good to be the middleman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's actually one of the most exciting things about in-play in general, which it's kind of hard to quantify and we don't talk about it too much, but is that creative control that the developers have on these units that they don't have with any other type of advertising. Other type of advertising, you kind of integrate the SDK and then your ad triggers and it takes over the game and that's it. This time you can decide how many you want to place, how big they are. You can curve them, you can make them trigger based on specific events. So it really becomes part of the creation process. It's not just plug and play. And I think that's something that we are aware of. We're not maybe promoting enough, because I think that is as an ex-game developer myself, this is one of the things that we came up with the idea, but also would sell me to the idea. It's like I get to control that experience, so it's not as intrusive or aggressive on the game, because you can define it. And I think that's really exciting to see that we give some power back to the publishers for them to really define their business models.
Yeah, that's great. It's also just personally satisfying to just see how people are using our tools in such creative ways and earning consistent revenue from it. But that's a whole other point. The IAS announcement is really
we deviated a bit.
A little bit. Semi-relevant. The IAS announcement is really exciting. And as you've said so many times, it signals a really bright future for the industry and for in-play as a format. Do you have any closing remarks on the potential or the next step towards making gaming this firm media channel?
I think something to note is that Integral Ad Science is a big company, right? They are verifying I don't know how many websites and ad units, but it's huge. They are internationally recognized, and so for them to work with us, smaller business, and starting to adapt their solution, that's something that they wouldn't have done before. Even a year ago, this was too early in the market. So for me, it's not only about this partnership, which is great, but it's also a sign that the big boys are waking up and they're realizing that there is a new media channel. It's not just us saying it. That partnership proves that the other much bigger companies are also saying that, which makes it more exciting, because now what we've been saying for a few years is starting to be a common knowledge. And so for me, that's the most exciting, and this is why I said that there would be more similar partnerships with similar types of companies in the space, and keep building on the one building block at a time to be able to get to a scalable media channel.
Great, one building block at a time. Amazing. This is it's great news. It's really fascinating to talk about it. Thank you so much for educating me a little bit more.
Thanks, Ian. It was great to chat.
Pleasure.
Cheers, everyone, and I will see you next week for another episode.